Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, name of House leader missing as INEC presents certificate of return to members of 10th National Assembly. Commuters in Abuja groan over failure of online payment platforms. Fire razes 3 villages in Jigawa. And on the foreign scene, Somalia government says it is working to stop violence amid Somaliland tension. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. The news in detail. Independent National Electoral Commission on Tuesday presented certificates of return to elected members of National Assembly. Senators-elect and members-elect for the 10th Assembly will be inaugurated in June this year. Noel Sampson reports.
Elected members of the National Assembly whose elections were declared by the INEC gathered at the International Conference Center for the ritual of presentation of certificate of return. Most of the elected members with smiling faces appreciated God and the voters for electing them to represent their interests at the upper chamber of the National Assembly. They set an agenda for the incoming 10th Assembly.
I am going to pay attention to persons with disability, youth and women, and also looking at some of the policies that FCT needs to access funds for health, education and agriculture. I intend to look at the well-being of the people. I am the representative of the people in the FCT.
My agenda is to tackle insecurity in my place. You know, the senatorial district is bedridden with a lot of security challenges, and I use my position in the Senate to make laws that will alleviate the security challenges of affected places in my senatorial district.
The 10th Senate is expected to be a very strong Senate that must focus on the people of Nigeria. This time that I have returned, I assure the Nigerian people that I will put myself in their service. All the things I will do in this 10th Senate will be for the benefit of the Nigerian people.
I have always believed and I remain convinced that a system works better when it delivers the greatest good to the greatest number. And as this time, the greatest number of our citizens are on the poor side. So I want to be part of a Senate that legislates for the good of the greatest number of our countrymen.
National Assembly elections in Sokoto State were declared inconclusive, as such as no winner is declared, just as senatorial election for Enugu East is postponed to March 11th. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has removed the name of the embattled leader of the House of Representatives, Alhassan Ado Doguwa, as the winner of the Doguwa Tudunwada constituency election. The returning officer, Professor Ibrahim Adamuyaka, had earlier announced that Doguwa of the All Progressives Congress polled 39,732 votes to defeat his closest rival, Yusha'u Salisu Abdullahi of the New Nigeria People's Party, who polled 34,798 votes. But in the list of the members-elect released late Monday evening by the electoral umpire, Doguwa's name was conspicuously missing. During the remark session, INEC stated that the declaration was made under duress. In a viral video of the returning officer declaring the results, the Don from Bayero University, Kano, could be seen reading out the results with shaky voice. The police had confirmed that at least 3 persons were killed, while the campaign secretariat of the NNPP in Tudunwada was set ablaze, with 2 persons burned to death during the crisis that broke out during the collation of the results of the Doguwa Tudunwada House of Representatives election, which Doguwa was eventually declared to have won. Doguwa was thereafter taken before a magistrate court on the charges of murder, arson, and unlawful possession of firearms, and was subsequently remanded in jail. But a federal high court in Kano on Monday admitted the embattled lawmaker to 500 million naira bail and barred him from his constituency during the forthcoming governorship and state assembly elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission has suspended Sokoto State Resident Electoral Commissioner Noura Ali with immediate effect. A statement from the Commission Secretary Rose Olaran Anthony on Monday, addressed to both the Resident Electoral Commissioner and the Administrative Secretary in the state, says Ali has been directed to stay away from the Commission's office in the state until further notice. While the reason for the suspension was not explicitly stated, it was gathered that the decision may be connected to the recent allegations of irregularities in the just concluded election in the state. The Administrative Secretary, Hajia Aliyu Kangiwa, has been instructed to take full charge of INEC in Sokoto State. Nigerians will go to the poll again to elect governors during the Saturday's governorship and state assembly elections. It is a ritual they do every 4 years. In this report, Trust TV's Shafi'u Suleiman takes a look at previous outcomes and what could be the likely scenario this time.
The military regime of General Abdulsalami Abubakar ushered in the Fourth Republic in Nigeria with return to democratic rule in 1999. Though largely a three-horse race between three major political parties, PDP, APP and AD, the election produced a set of democratically elected governors aligned with the strength of the platforms. Results of the 2003 governorship elections show that Donald Duke of the PDP polled the highest votes with 1,193,290, while the lowest votes in the election was that of the PDP candidate in Plateau State, Joshua Darie, scoring 364,903 votes. However, in 2011, PDP governorship candidate in Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi, polled the highest votes in the contest with 1,178,529 votes, representing 85.81% of the votes cast in the state. In 2011, Ogun State Abiola Jimobi of the ACN won with the lowest votes of 420,852, representing 37.41% of the state's total votes to win the election. Though electoral contests, governorship election inclusive, are largely a two- or three-horse race in the previous exercises, the emergence of the Labour Party LP in 2023 as an undisputed third force, going by the just concluded presidential election results and the disruptions it created in some states, there is indication it could change the established voting patterns. Observers project that PDP is likely going to share the South-South states with the Labour Party. The emerging third force could sweep the governorship results of the South-East, while the APC will struggle to retain its southwestern states. In the same analysis, however, the APC, which dominates the state government houses in the northwest and northeast, may equally have a running battle retaining its controlled states. If the outcome of the just concluded presidential election is anything to go by, the north-central part of the country may witness a shift in the election voting pattern, with the Labour Party making an inroad due to influence of newly embraced election criteria. Shafi'u Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The All Progressives Congress has briefed 12 senior advocates of Nigeria to defend the mandate of its presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, in the just concluded polls. Tinubu polled 8,794,726 votes in 12 of Nigeria's 36 states, almost 2 million votes more than his closest rival, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, who came second with 6,984,520 votes, while the candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, finished the race third with 6,101 votes, 101,533 votes. But Atiku and Obi have rejected the outcome of the election, vowing to challenge the result in court. In a statement on Tuesday, APC National Legal Advisor Ahmed Usman Al-Marzouk released the 13-man list comprising 12 senior advocates. The legal team, consisting of 12 senior advocates of Nigeria and the national legal advisor of the party, Ahmed Usman El Marzouk, Esquire, is led by Prince Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, a renowned lawyer who has successfully handled various high-profile election matters and other landmark cases. Other members of the list are Ahmed Usman El Marzouk, Sam Ologunorisha, Rotimi Oguneso, Olabisi Shoebo, Boyega Oyewole, Muritala Abdurrashid, Aliyu Omeza Saiki, Tajuddin Oladoja, Pius Akubo, Olusheye Okpasonya, Suraju Saida, and Kazim Adeni. Still in politics, the New Nigeria People's Party says its presidential candidate, Rabiu Kwankwaso, did not congratulate his counterpart, Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress, as speculated. In a statement signed by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Agbo Major, the NNPP claimed that the election was grossly flawed, contentious and disputed, saying the claim is a figment of the fertile imagination of anti-democrats, political hirelings, and fifth columnists leveraging on the popularity of the party's presidential flag bearer. The NNPP also rejected the outcome of the February 25th, 2023 presidential election, alleging that it did not reflect the will, wish and mandate of the Nigerians who trooped out to vote, but disappointed by the failure of INEC to upload the polling unit's results to its portals, which would have guaranteed the authenticity of the results. The NNPP added that the presidential poll turned out to be a charade as it failed to meet the expectations of Nigerians and the international community. According to the party, whose presidential candidate came distant fourth in the race, it is unthinkable that Kwankwaso would hastily congratulate Asiwaju Tinubu on his questionable mandate, which other candidates also claimed they won and had approached the court to seek redress, he said. It called on all lovers of democracy to remain calm and adhere to due process and rule of law while waiting for the termination of the election petitions in court. Reactions have continued to trail the Supreme Court judgment, extending the validity of the old 1,500 and 200 Naira notes. A cross-section of Nigerians wants the federal government and the Apex Bank to comply with the court's judgment in order to end the hardship occasioned by the policy. Chamunda Bang reports.
Last week, Friday, the Supreme Court nullified the implementation of the CBN's Naira redesign policy and ruled that the old 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes remain legal tender until December 31st, 2023. Following the implementation of the policy, the Apex Bank said the money in circulation dropped from 3.29 trillion Naira to 1.38 trillion Naira. However, economist Stephen Wachuku believes that the Naira redesign policy has had adverse effects on the central bank's quest to reduce money in circulation.
Naira has become a scarce commodity and is now more profitable to hold Naira. You can't find Nigerians going to the bank to deposit the old note or even the new note. It has also, inevitably increased the volume of cash required to be in the system. Pyro before now, CBN told us that they have about 3.2 trillion in circulation, and 3.2 trillion is serving the system as we speak now. In fact, the available statistics says that over 5 trillion is needed.
4 days after the Supreme Court nullified the implementation of the central bank's Naira redesign policy, the Naira supply has not increased and Nigerians are reluctant to transact with the old 1,000 and 500 Naira notes.
Actually, nothing has really happened positively. It's still been the same thing, to get money now, nothing, no way. You go to the bank, you can't get money. The POS guys are not giving you the money.
When we had the Supreme Court judgment that we should be spending the money, we are waiting for the president now to broadcast now whether we should continue or not. We are waiting for him. We are waiting for him now.
On February 8th, the Supreme Court issued an interim injunction preventing the federal government from suspending the use of the old major denominations by February 10th. However, this was soon followed by a broadcast by President Buhari stating that the deadline remains. The Supreme Court declared that the decision by the president not to implement the interim court order was against the rule of law.
But keeping silent and not talking to the public creates this needless confusion, because at the end of the day, there is that mistrust and misgiving. The people would still have in mind that Mr. President had disobeyed the central bank, and there is also the probability that he could also disobey the central bank this time around, the Supreme Court this time around. I think Mr. President will need to address that issue for the sake of the rule of law and for the sake of respect for the apex court.
Many Nigerians were hopeful that the naira scarcity will gradually ease following the presidential elections, but this has not been the case as citizens continue to call on the government to address the issue once and for all. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Residents of Abuja are finding it difficult to use commercial vehicles as drivers insist on cash payment because of persistent failures of online payment platforms. They called on the government to make the new currency available to ease their hardship moving from one location to another. Trust TV's Kabir Lawal reports.
Passengers have been finding it difficult to pay through online platforms, owing congestion since the inception of the Naira redesign policy and the consequent cash unavailability in the country. Some passengers told Trust TV News that the bank transfer is working often, making it difficult for most of them to reach their various destinations on time.
There's a lot of hell experience because even this morning I think I begged about I think about 11 drivers to take acceptance of this transfer sheet. I have to track down from the place I'm coming from to this place, and even with that you can see and I made transfer with this to this driver, and up to now I think he's not gotten any money. He haven't received the money yet. You can see the slip on my hand, and I have to wait. I've been here for about 2 hours or so, and it's very stressful. It's painful.
Actually, it's not about the issue of transfer. It's the network. There's no cash. There's no network. That's the challenges we're facing. But for people like me, actually, I don't go out to pay junction along with transfer. I make sure I get some cash from my neighbors, from friends who have shops, can be able to give me even 1,000 naira to manage.
Today, I wanted to travel, and then I don't have cash with me, and I want to transfer, and then I discovered that the drivers are not, almost all of them are not even collecting the transfer, and then it pains, but concerning the issue, it's not just like they are the causes or the drivers' cause. We should not offend the drivers, neither should we offend ourselves. The cause is what the government has already done.
Commercial drivers also complain that the bank network is too slow, and most times they don't get the payment alerts from the passengers.
Some people don't even have money to enter transport. We normally help them free of charge. Now you hear this ask of transfer, even the transfer is not even going. So in fact, anything that the federal government will do to help us in this issue.
I'm a taxi driver. That's what we have been passing every day by day. And sometimes, you accept the transfer when you go to police station to buy food. Most of the police stations, they are not even collecting ATM. Most of them, they will ask to say they are not collecting.
The fault is not from driver, it's not from the passengers. It's because of the situation on the ground. Now, some driver they collect, some will say no. Those that say no, is because I think you can see filling station now. It's not that there is no fuel, there is fuel. But those who are going with ATM, they will block everywhere. You want to buy fuel and go and carry a passenger and go, you will spend more 30 minutes or 1 hour.
Motorists asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to make the cash available and devise ways of making the online platforms function efficiently. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News.
Motorists in Abuja are groaning over recurring fuel shortage as queues resurface again in the nation's capital. Again, Kabir Lawal reports that the queues are obstructing flow of traffic on the roads.
Fuel queues are motorist nightmares. Motorists spend hours at filling stations to buy fuel. Others who could not spare time buy from black marketers at prohibitive prices. Some Abuja residents expressed worry that fuel shortage has been a recurring problem that the authorities have failed to address. Some of the commercial drivers further told Trust TV News that they spent the night at the filling station to enable them get the fuel, a situation they described as unfortunate.
I spent no less than 3 hours. Not only that, yesterday, I slept in the filling station yesterday at Use 2. I did not get the fuel. They say, after everything, they say they have closed. So all of us will have to sleep that place. So one of my friends coming that this morning, these people are selling. So that's why I come here. I've stayed up to 3 hours now. I've never seen food.
It's the queue. It's too much. And we don't have cash to buy fuel. Then we went there for us to use our card. Even the queue of the POS is too much. We can't afford it. Even the country is getting terrible. It's getting out of hand, honestly. Our federal government should know what to do about it, because we, the poor masses, we are suffering. We can't even bear it.
I came all the way from Oyo State down to Abuja here, where we are finding it not easy. Like day before yesterday, when I left Oyo State, we are buying at the rate of 250 per liter. And now, some places here in Abuja, they say 250, 270. It's only places like Rano or some other places that we see cheaper. And the queue is much. And the stress is much. Even if you want to pay through your ATM card, sometimes it will be declined.
Man, it's very bad. As you can see right now, I'm at Rano, Utako, trying to get fuel. I just got here now. What I intend doing is to act as if I want to service my car so I can gain access to get the fuel. If you go in, you have to queue first for the fuel. Then when you now get your turn, you're not going to queue to use the ATM card, to use your POS, because there's no cash anywhere.
Passengers also complain that the scarcity has made transport fares to go up, making life unbearable for them.
It's not like something is reducing, like the means of transportation. CQ now, fuel, and you don't expect transport to be easy, like maybe affordable. It's still the normal price, rather it's even shooting.
They want the government to make petroleum products available to cushion the hardship being experienced by people. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break. How Katsina community gets classrooms. Do stay with us.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Treated a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on News Hour. Here's a recap of our top stories. We told you that name of House leader missing as INEC presents certificate of return to members of 10th National Assembly. You also heard that commuters in Abuja groan over failure of online payment platforms. Moving to more stories, a fire has ravaged Malamawar, Dangoli, Karangi and Kwalele villages in Kiawa local government area of Jigawa State, destroying properties worth millions of naira. The fire, which started on Sunday, consumed houses, livestock, animals, farm products and other valuables in its path. Fortunately, no life was lost, but some family members are reportedly missing. Police Public Relations Officer of the state, DSP Lawan Shisu Adam, confirmed this in a statement. A team of firefighters and policemen from state, federal and airport fire services arrived at the scene to combat the blaze. The director of the State Fire Service, Ibrahim Gumel, blamed the fire on the burning of bamboos kept in the villages by unknown individuals. Gumel advised people to refrain from burning bushes and refuse centers near villages during the dry season. The affected villagers are now counting their losses as the inferno consumed everything in its path. The incident has left many families devastated and without shelter. The State Emergency Management Agency in Jigawa said the fire began because of the heavy wind, which picks the fire from the local cooking stove to a thatched fence. Moving on to security, Nigeria's Security and Civil Defense Corps has found a man unconscious by the roadside along Kiawa local government area of Jigawa State on Monday evening. A statement by the Command Public Relations Officer, CSC Adamu Shehu, said the command received a distress call from Malam Wadari, ward head of Mabara, a village under Andaza town, Kiawa local government area, that he received a report of an unconscious man lying by the roadside along Kiawa Road with a cable tightened to his neck. The man was later identified as Umar Ibrahim, aged 58, a resident of Sarari village, Sakwaya Dutse, local government area of Jigawa State, and he was on his way to make a purchase at Shuwarim Market. And a CDC medical team observed a cable was used around the neck of the victim to suffocate him, and blood was coming out from his mouth. He was rushed to Dutse General Hospital for proper medical attention. The abducted man, after regaining consciousness, said that he boarded a taxi along Takur Adua quarters in Dutse Metropolis with 3 passengers in it, including the driver, and the 97,000 naira in his possession was taken away. The state NSCDC commandant, Musa Mala, enjoined residents to desist from boarding taxis outside designated motor parks in order to avoid such occurrences. Residents of Yola, the Adamawa state capital, have expressed divergent views on the chances of the only female candidate for governorship election in the country. Let's take a look.
She will win because she has more supporters, and we women, we love her because whatever she's doing, she's trying her best. She's doing good for us. We women, we will support her and we will vote for her.
Adama is not ready for a female governor. Why? Because we Africa, we don't believe that women rule over men. And therefore, Nigeria will not give a female at this time. It will come a time that a female will be the president, but not now. We are not ready for that.
That this time around, let us allow a woman to lead us. Men have been trying their best, but let's try women. Let's women try and let us know how capable women can be able to rule us. Let's stop looking down on women, thinking that women cannot do better. To my own opinion, let us try. Let us just give it a try and see either if women cannot do better. So that is my opinion.
Well, you heard that from Adamawa State residents. Now moving on Security forces have been commended for the critical role they played during the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections in Benue State. Residents said the officers exhibited professionalism and decorum during the polls. Jimmy Adzande reports.
Before the elections, there were a series of workshops aimed at fortifying security personnel to play neutral roles during the elections. The training was put to practice in the elections of 25th February, as recounted by Benue residents, who recommended the security forces for professionalism.
The conduct of the security in the last general election, as long as I'm concerned, in Makurdi was peaceful and okay. They were all going all over to check polling unit by polling to make sure that there was no crisis. Even in some places that voting could not hold because of misappropriation of materials, security were on ground to make sure that the people just conduct themselves and they wait for the next day for the election to hold in those places.
The Nigerian security over the last election, it was very, very perfect. Compared to the other election we have been witnessed and we have been passing through, this last election, presidential election, was so peacefully, and the security in Benue State has made sure that they maintain the peace in this country and in Benue State.
In my local government, they have really tried. They give us a free and fair election because they conducted the election very well. Everything was well, everything was well. So we appreciate their work.
The residents also called on the forces to extend same professionalism to the March 11 gubernatorial and House of Assembly elections across the country.
I feel there should be more people for security because most of the parties that lose the election, they are now saying they are going to announce the election and they are going to disrupt the election at the polling unit. And I urge the security to come out in mass to protect the election to make sure that everything goes orderly and peaceful.
I really appreciate this level of security. And I also believe this coming election on the 11th of March will be the same. And I request from federal government to send more security to protect lives and properties, to secure the election. We want free and fair election in this country. The same like the last election is the security that make free and fair election. Without security, we cannot make free and fair election in this country.
I will call on the security to come out on the 11th of March to conduct the election as they did previously.
No reported case of security officers meddling in the election process was recorded in Benue State. In the past elections, however, security officers were accused of connivance and complacency before, during and after the polls in favor of preferred candidates.
Supreme Court has affirmed Akanimo Dofia as the authentic governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom State as it dismissed the suit filed by Senator Ita Enang seeking to nullify the primary that produced Dofia. Justice Kudirat Kekereakun, who delivered the court's judgment, upheld the decision of the Court of Appeal Abuja, which held that the Federal High Court in Uyo acted without jurisdiction when it nullified the APC's primary. Senator Ita Enang had prayed for the court to declare him as the authentic governorship candidate of the party on the basis that Udofia was not an APC member as of May 26 last year when the party conducted the governorship primary. Udofia lodged an appeal at the Court of Appeal in Abuja against the decision of the lower court. The appellate court on 19th January set aside the judgment of the lower court and restored him as the APC candidate. The appellate court held that the Federal High Court in Uyo wrongly assumed jurisdiction to entertain the matter, contrary to sections 97 and 98 of the Sheriff's Act. Enang approached the Supreme Court, challenging the decision of Court of Appeal. The Apex Court held that the trial court had no jurisdiction to question the validity of the waiver granted to Udofia to participate in the primaries, being an internal affair of the party. Ahead of March 11 governorship elections in Rivers State, Labour Party in the state has thrown its weight behind the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Semini Alaye Fubara. The decision, according to the state party chairman, Dienye Pepple, is due to the crisis rocking the party on who is the rightful governorship candidate of the party in Rivers State. The report.
Labour Party chairman in Rivers State, Dienye Pepple, while declaring support for the PDP, pointed at an order for the party not to remain in the dark and in line with the position of its 23 local government areas chairman. It decided to support a credible candidate irrespective of the party affiliation by adopting a candidate who is young and vibrant and hails from the senatorial district that has not produced a governor before in the state. Pepple stressed that the adoption was in a bid to hold on to its tenets of equity, fairness, justice and balance.
In the past few days, the party in the state was hit by a major shock of an unknown person surfacing and claiming to be our gubernatorial candidate, coupled with the news making rounds on social media that our gubernatorial candidate has stepped down and adopted the APC candidate. In order for us not to remain in the dark, the party, in line with the 23 LGA chairmen and all the state ESCOs, has decided to support a credible candidate irrespective of the party affiliation, a candidate who must be young and vibrant and must hail from the senatorial district that haven't produced a governor before in this.
The said the Labour Party considers its decision both fundamental and essential to the stability, progress and growth of Rivers State and by extension, Nigeria.
As Labour Party members and as obedience adherents to the aforementioned values, we must come out and support a region that has never in the history of the state produced a governor. Voting a riverine candidate in the person of Sir Asinale Joseph Fubara from the Southeast Senatorial District of the state during the upcoming gubernatorial polls ensure that the Labour Party and our members are defenders and ambassadors of the values that have set her and the obedient movement apart from all other parties.
During the Saturday, February 25th Presidential and National Assembly elections in Rivers State, the same Labour Party chairman, who was at the State Election Coalition Centre, launched a vocal protest at the State Coalition Centre over the results of the Obiakpo local government area. He, however, urged all Labour Party member supporters to come out in their numbers on Saturday, 11th March 2023, to vote the PDP candidate for governorship and vote all other Labour Party candidates for State House of Assembly in their various constituencies.
National Chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, has dissolved the party's State Executive Council in Rivers State for alleged anti-party activities and corruption in the management of party funds. Abure, in a statement on Tuesday, said the dissolution is with immediate effect. He said members at the helm of affairs when the party's presidential mandate was openly stolen in Rivers State should step aside until full investigation is completed. Abure said he has lost confidence in the ability of the compromised State Executive Council, led by Dienye Pepple, to lead the campaign of the governorship and State House of Assembly elections come March 11. He urged all obedience in the state to disregard all comments and actions by Pepple Abure. Abure said Beatrice Itubo remains the Labour Party candidate for the Saturday's governorship elections in the state. The chairman also said the Labour Party has not formed an alliance with any political party. Moving on to education, communities of Wawia and Wolowol in Dutsi local government area of Katsina State will soon get a primary school. This followed a recent visit to the communities by Trust TV news crew, who reported the dire need for a primary school for their children to have access to education. Wawia and Wolowol villages have been without social amenities over 2 decades after the return of democracy in Nigeria, despite their active participation in politics. Abdullahi Ahmadi completes the report.
At first, when Trust TV visited the area, children from the two communities were taking lessons in a makeshift classes, with residents calling on the relevant authorities to come to their aid.
Daga tun da aka kawo mu da makuraɗiya abin da ya kawo yanzu mu ba mu amfana da komi ba.
Residents of the two communities of Wawiya and Walawal are suffering absence of social amenities, especially school, road, and water shortage.
To don haka muke bara ga Allah ga wannan gwamnati a taimake mu.
Residents of Wawiya and Walawal are lucky as the Katsina State Primary Education Board heeds to their calls.
Class, stand up. How are you?
At a visit to the area, the chairman Lawal Buhari Daura gave assurances that the board will construct classes and provide teachers.
You have seen the number of children that are here that are not going to the school. And always we are fighting against children not going to school. It has to do with out of school children. We are always fighting on it. And that is why we are trying all those things. You can see even the class that they are in now is locally made, of which with time we are going to find a land for them, and I assure them, inshallah, we are going to construct a class for them.
Similarly, the senator representing Katsina North at the National Assembly, Ahmad Babba Keita, is constructing a block of 2 classrooms for the villagers. This means the communities can now boast of having at least a primary school as dividend of democracy since its return in 1999.
Godiya ga wannan gidan talabiji mai albarka wanda ya ziyarci garin Wawiya, Allah shi saka mai da alkhairi.
We sincerely appreciate this TV station for coming to our rescue, which, through your reportage, we are now considered for at least 1 primary school for our children. The number of school-aged children from these communities is unprecedented. We thank God. In the same vein, the construction of the primary school will greatly reduce the menace of out-of-school children bedeviling the state and the country as a whole. Abdullahi Ismail Ahmadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Thank you, Abdullahi Ahmadi. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back after the break.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
The Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria on Tuesday said it realized 278 million naira in ticket sales across cinemas in the month of February nationwide. The association's national chairman, Okpe Ajayi, who disclosed this in an interview in Lagos, added that the cinemas also had 122,295 gross admission within the period under review. Cinemas experienced a drastic decline in sales in February when compared with 819 million naira sales made in January. Ajayi blamed the cash crunch and poor network service delivery being experienced by POS operators nationwide for the decline in sales. He similarly noted that the cinemas experienced an all-time lull in the week of the presidential and National Assembly elections. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund has temporarily increased the limits on members' annual and cumulative access to the fund's resources in the General Resources account. This is contained in a statement obtained from the IMF website. The statement said the changes were intended to better support the fund's members in a particularly challenging and uncertain economic environment. According to the statement, IMF lending is subject to both an annual and a cumulative limit on a member's access to the fund's general resources. It said the access limits for the GRA were last set in 2016 with an annual limit of 145% of quota and a cumulative limit of 435% of quota. In South Africa, the economy tumbled below pre-pandemic levels in the last 3 months of 2022 as a record power shortages hit activity. This is according to official data released on Tuesday. The gross domestic product of Africa's most industrialized country contracted by 1.3% in the fourth quarter. The economy had expanded by 1.6% in the July to September period. Growth in South Africa was weighed down in the final quarter by unprecedented levels of power outages. The trade and finance sectors were the biggest drag to the economy's growth between October and December, with exports decreasing by 4.8%. And finally, in stocks. The Nigerian stock market on Tuesday closed flat amidst weak shedding in 22 stocks as the all-share index closed at 55,603.94 points. Market capitalization closed at 30.290 trillion naira, about 1 billion below its previous close on Monday. Market capitalization closed at 30.290 trillion naira, about 1 billion below its previous close on Monday. The market breadth closed negative as 11 equities emerged as gainers against 22 equities that declined in their share prices. An aggregate of 154 million units of shares were traded in 4,187 deals, valued at 2.48 billion naira. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
On the foreign scene, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud says his government is working closely to restore peace in its northern breakaway region of Somaliland amid heightened tensions between the region's authorities and local clan forces. Violence erupted after leaders of the Sul, Sanang and Kayan provinces of Somaliland, which claimed independence from Somalia in 1991, announced their intention to rejoin Somalia. According to the UN, fighting broke out last month around the town of Laskanud in Sul, killing at least 80 people and displacing more than 185,000. In August last year, a few months after being re-elected for the second time, Mohamud declared an all-out war against Al-Shabaab, which has been waging a rebellion against the government since 2007. Let's now join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
Donovan Mitchell scored 40 points while Lamar Stevens instigated Cleveland's fourth quarter comeback as the Cavaliers won 118-114 against the Boston Celtics, who lost their second overtime game in less than 24 hours. For Celtics, Jaylen Brown scored 32 points and Malcolm Brogdon posted 24 points. The Celtics were without their All-Star Game MVP, Jason Tatum, in the loss. Elsewhere, between Philadelphia 76ers and Indiana Pacers, Joel Embiid scored 42 points with James Harden adding 14 points, 20 assists and 9 rebounds. Philadelphia 76ers defeated the Indiana Pacers 147-143 in a close game with a decisive fourth quarter offensive run. Embiid scored 11 of 16 from the field to make his 19th free throw attempt and posted his 11th 40-point game this season. The 76ers had 6 players in double figures and 3 with 20 or more points as they finished the game with 58.5% shooting. Between Miami Heat and Atlanta Hawks, Jimmy Butler scored 26 points, Bam Adebayo added 16 points, Duncan Robinson 14 points, while Tyler Hero finished with 13 points, while Victor Oladipo and Caleb Martin combined to score 43 off the bench as the Heat held off Atlanta Hawks 130-128 in a keenly contested matchup. The result means Miami Heat are now 2.5 games clear of Atlanta Hawks in the race for number 7 spot in the East. For the Hawks, Trae Young scored 25 points with another 23 points from DeJounte Murray and 17 points apiece from Sadiq Bey and John Collins. And in football, Nigerian Super Eagles forward Victor Osimhen continued to make headlines in Italy following his amazing performance. Nigeria International is presently the leading scorer in the Serie A with 20 goals as Napoli is on the verge of winning the Scudetto for the first time in 33 years. His hard work was rewarded on Monday as he claimed the best foreign athlete in Italy. While acknowledging that playing in Italian Serie A is difficult, Osimhen says he is doing his best to achieve more and in the league, while hoping to play in the Premier League in future. Osimhen received the award in the company of Napoli president Aurelio De Laurentiis. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Hour. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.